both quota systems and feed-in tariffs are a market mechanism. It's just that the difference with the feed-in tariff is we set the price and the market sets the volume. You set a high price or a fair price, you get a lot of renewable energy. That's what you want. If you set a low price, well, you don't get much. So if you don't want renewables, you set a low price or you do something else, you know, net metering or subsidy programs like that, if you just want to greenwash stuff. But both are market mechanisms. So if you take a real liberal, knee-jerk liberal organization like Ernst & Young, they compared the cost of the German program to the cost of the British program, because they're big fans of market mechanism. They said Germany developed 4 times more wind energy, actual wind energy, not windmills, wind energy, than Britain at 1/5 the relative cost by using feed-in tariffs, by using the market mechanism of setting the price, regulating the price. You control how much you're paying for renewable energy. Now, this is a very important slide. You know, typically at these kind of meetings, I get a question, how much does all that renewable energy cost? Isn't that stuff expensive? I say, well, who said it cost anything? Aren't we doing this to save money? It might cost us more in the short term, but aren't we asking for a hedge against the fossil fuel price volatility and the eventual price increase from fossil fuels in our generating mix? Aren't we paying for a hedge against inflation of fossil fuel prices? I mean, we all buy insurance, right? I assume you buy insurance here. Yes, and we pay for insurance. We don't really get a service from insurance until the house burns down. Well, it's the same way here. You don't get your insurance until the price of fossil fuel goes through the roof. So we see in France this paradox that as we've added more and more renewable generation, the price counterintuitively has not gone up. It's gone down. And in 2008, the overcost, the excess cost of having renewable energy and these feed-in tariffs actually was negative. It saved French ratepayers 5 million euros. And that's what we've been saying for 30 years. If we develop enough renewable energy, it offsets the fossil fuel-fired generation on the margin. And in Europe, that's natural gas. It's probably the same here. And what happened in 2008? Oil went to $147 a barrel. Natural gas went, what, $12, $14 a million BTU. Coal went up as well. And the French were paying through the nose for fossil-fired generation, and all that renewable energy did just what we said it would do, would save them money. Now, the economy's collapsed, in part because of the increase in fossil fuel prices. And as a consequence, the price on the spot market of fossil fuels has collapsed, and consequently, the overcost of renewables in Germany, France, have increased. But when you take this kind of study and you look at Denmark, Germany, France, and Spain, the savings from the development of renewable energy has been offsetting the cost of the program. Now, that's not going to show up on the electricity bill because there are 2 different lines where that appears. But in total, it's saving the French ratepayer, the German ratepayer, about as much as it's costing them. So where you have aggressive targets for renewable energy development, you use feed-in tariffs. Now, Germany is a good example there. Up until April, the target for 2020 in Germany was 30%. Now, you notice this 2010 target at 12.5%. You'll see in a moment that Germany now produces 16% of its electricity. It's 2010. 16% of its electricity from renewable energy today in 2010. So the Minister of the Environment and Nuclear Safety, who's from the Conservative Party, they're in power, they're in government, so it would be like your Tories. The Tory Minister of the Environment took a look at these figures and he said, "Mein Gott, what have we done here? This renewable program is out of whack. Obviously, we've done something wrong. Our target's too low. We need to set the target higher to 39%. And that's a German conservative government. It could be different than yours here. I don't know. And I say, spin, baby, spin. Anyway, so why have the Europeans been so successful? because of two principal factors. One is they've engaged the population to participate in the renewable energy revolution by giving them the opportunity to install windmills and solar panels and make money doing so. Not to save the earth, that's nice, we like that. That's good, but that's not the reason they do it. They do it to make money. And they've only been able to do this because they use this system of advanced renewable tariffs or feed-in tariffs where you pay for the electricity produced by the wind turbines or the solar panels. So what are they? They are simply a payment for generation. This is not a radical concept. This is how we paid for electricity for 30 years. You build a coal-fired power plant, and the company would say, well, it costs us so many billion. We pay for the coal, we pay for the operation and maintenance, and then they say, well, it's going to cost us so many cents a kilowatt hour. We want to be paid so many cents a kilowatt hour, and that's what you did. This is exactly the same principle when we apply it to renewables. It's a shocking concept. Applying it to renewables, and we set the price in advance. So it absolutely is a political price, but it's not a political quota. In most places that are doing this, we want to see as much renewable development as we possibly can, and they achieve this through price differentiation, pay one price for solar, one price for wind, and so on. And where this is being done is wherever renewable energy are growing rapidly today, that's where they're using these feed-in tariffs. So if you're going to design a feed-in tariff program, it has to be simple, comprehensible, and transparent. Everybody has to know what's going on. Prices have to be published. No secret agreements, no backroom deals, no NDAs, no PPAs. Everybody has to know the price others are being paid. And you have to have access to the grid so you can connect your solar panel or windmill to the grid. You have to be assured you're going to be paid for your electricity. The contract for the payment of that electricity has to be long enough to assure you recover the capital invested as well as a reasonable profit. Key is reasonable profit. We want fair profit, but we don't want to gouge the ratepayer. We only want the profit we need to make this work and not pay any more. And we only can do that through price differentiation by controlling the price that we pay. So you get a different price for different technologies. You get a different price for different applications. Rooftop solar is more expensive than ground-mounted solar, so you get a higher price for solar on the rooftop than you do for ground-mounted systems. For different sizes, big megawatt size solar power plant gets a lower price because you have economies of scale than a small solar system on a rooftop, for example. And particularly for wind energy, for different resource intensities, which is what they're doing in Germany, France, Switzerland, and China. Now, if the Chinese can get this, oh, come on, we can get this too. And even doing it for solar in France. So what this means for France is it's sunny and it's Côte d'Azur. I'm sure many of you vacation on the Côte d'Azur in the middle of winter. And you go over there, well, they're going to have a lot of solar panels there now because they pay a certain price for solar PV in the south of France where it's sunny. But in the north, where it's not as sunny, they pay 20% more. That's the price differentiation because it costs more for solar electricity in the north because of less sun. You apply the same principle to wind. Now, I'm not sure if I put it in here. I didn't because it gets real techie stuff after that, so I didn't want to do that tonight. But the principle is you pay more for wind-generated electricity where it's less windy. You pay less where it's more windy because you don't want to overpay where it's more windy, but you want to make sure that you enable or create opportunity for farmers and ranchers in places where they live. Now, not everybody lives in Pincher Creek. Now, you have to pay a certain price. If you're going to get wind development around Red Deer or Calgary or maybe around Edmonton, you're going to have to pay a certain price, but it's going to be a higher price than you'd have to pay to get wind development in Pincher Creek. So the Germans are no better than the rest of us. They tried all the subsidy programs we all do that you, innovation programs that you have here in Alberta, because I know you don't do subsidies, programs. The difference is that the Germans actually, when they beat their heads against the wall for a while, they actually stop and say, maybe this is not a good idea. Maybe we should try something else. Let's try something that works. And when they turned to that kind of program in the year 2000, the generation of renewable energy took off, particularly for PV. Wind had already been growing